Meet me in the foyer.
Hello, and this week we're caught up in all sorts of legal wrangles, handing our money over to the lawyers who'll drain our accounts dry, dealing with our divorces, accusations of petty theft, drug running, jewel theft, and gangland hits. Yes, it's a crime-ridden week on the show, so let's get off the streets before we get our collars felt again and into the cinema. So meet me in the foyer where Linda is waiting to bring us episode 12 before we face 12 good men and women true and are forced to pay for our crimes. And well, here she is now. How are you doing, Linda?
I'm very well. How are you?
Not too bad, actually. Yeah,
Good,
not
good.
too bad at all.
Good.
And you've had a busy week, I think.
Uh, Honestly, I don't even know what day it is. It's kind of like getting to the busiest time of the year for me as a critic in general, because it's all the sort of all the stuff that's likely to be nominated for awards that's coming out, slowly coming out. And then you've got Venice, and then you have Toronto Film Festival. So all the big films that are likely to win anything are coming out very soon. Not coming out, being screened. So
Yeah.
some of them won't come out until early next year anyway, but loads of these films are being screened. Yeah.
So, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I became aware of this because I received a very exciting email over the weekend, which maybe I'll keep a secret, but that was a certain film festival a little bit closer to home than Toronto, shall we say?
Exactly.
Um,
Well, let's say fingers crossed for you.
yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
So, what have you brought to us this week, Linda?
This week I will be reviewing an exciting one, actually both quite exciting things, really. I want to say a reboot, but not a reboot, another adaptation of a book by Warren Adler from 1981, I believe. A book that's already been adapted into a movie very early on by one Danny DeVito.
The
So
man.
I'll let you think on what movie that could be. And another one, and a new film by Darren Aronofsky. Whether you are a fan of Aronofsky or not, he's never boring. He's always got other things. He always manages to surprise with whatever new movie he's coming out with. And I think we're in for a treat for this one.
Well, it sounds like we're in for a treat on this week's episode of Meet Me in the Foyer as well. That's fantastic.
Meet me in the foyer.
Right, after a slight delay there for a change of eyewear, we need to go. And as in all legal matters, there is an order to proceedings, and the first item on the calendar today is a review. So we head into the courtroom now to put a film on trial. This time it's a civil matter in the case of Cumberbatch versus Colman, as Jay Roach has brought to trial his remake of 1989 film The War of the Roses, simply titled The Roses.
This to us.
No one can defeat us, Ian.
I've always said that.
How was your day?
You got fired. Fired?
More champagne for me, please.
You're a failure. Women don't like that.
If you need a shoulder or an inner thigh to lean on.
We both said things we didn't mean.
I meant that!
I meant them too!
Oh my God, you don't care if I'm dead!
The Roses.
Linda.
I'm going to start by saying that I don't know if I'm sure you are familiar with of the original, Michael Douglas and my God, can't I remember her name? Yes, the book was released in 1981 by Warren Adler, and then the film was made. It was made into a movie by Danny DeVito in 1989. Something that loads of people was quite surprised by, and a film that many people really, really love. So when I heard noise that this movie was being made, there was trepidation. But what makes this movie is who's in it. Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman have known each other for many, many, many years. Both of them actually worked on loads of stuff on radio for dramas, drama comedies, and voiced loads of things. And they've known each other for a very long time. They both have that kind of sort of posh hoity-toity kind of comedy, but also with loads of swearing in it. And I heard many a critic and many a fan say that in this movie, Olivia Colman's basically is playing herself, which I actually disagree with. I think Colman is so good at what she does that every time you see her in anything, you just genuinely feel like she's playing herself because she is such a brilliant actress. She is someone who gives it all, whatever role she's in. She's been in TV, she's been in less in films where she was literally the only good thing about it, and still managed to do really well. So this, I have cards on table. I really love this movie. I don't think everyone is going to agree with me, and especially if you are a fan of the earlier version of it. It's a film that is very in your face. The earlier version of it, very sort of, like vicious in the way it portrays this kind of this marital strife between these two people who meet and fall in love instantly because they see in each other the other half of one another, and then sometime along somewhere along the line of their relationship, things go south, and they go south spectacularly. So this is filmed in Devon, but it's set in somewhere like near San Francisco. So Devon doesn't quite look like California. You can really tell that this was not made with a ton of money. And that is absolutely fine because it doesn't really matter because the script itself and the acting caliber of these two is just absolutely brilliant. There is a the dialogue is so sharp you could cut yourself on it. It's just the only probably like other characters, sort of other secondary characters in it are played by a bunch of people from SNL. You got Andy Samberg, Kate McKinnon, Alison Janney she's not in SNL, but she appears very briefly as a divorce lawyer, a really funny divorce lawyer. And you got Chuti Gatua, who plays a restaurant manager, and he's actually quite good in this. There isn't a single person that I didn't like in this movie. So the story is that she is Olivia Colman plays Ivy, and she's the Roses, Ivy Rose, and he plays Theo. He's a renowned architect, a very successful architect who's about to launch this extraordinary new installation in the middle of California. But as luck would have it, a freak storm destroys his installation, and he becomes he becomes the sort of the butt of all jokes in his industry. On the other hand, what seems to be happening with Ivy is that because she is such a brilliant chef, she's got this little shack by the sea where hardly anyone ever goes there, and she cooks these absolutely beautiful, ornate dishes. And just as his career is going down the toilet, her career starts to come up when she's discovered by pretty much all and sundry. I mean, she becomes overnight sensation. She's in magazines, she's getting 5-star reviews from everyone, and she has to leave the marital house. And now that he's been shunned by his profession, he's got to look after the kids, and that's where their problems start. I think this is really well done. As I think with the movie that was made by Danny DeVito, it was less of a social satire, but more like a sort of an out and out sort of vicious comedy. But here you do get, it's so cleverly done. It's so beautifully sort of subtle. It's typically British. It's very British in its subtlety, and I think and I genuinely believe that this is the version I like the most because it doesn't really go completely out. I mean, all of the usual things are in there, and if you are familiar with the book, I think this is closer to the book than the original 1980s film. Other than that, I think I did have a problem with a couple of characters in the movie. I think everyone is brilliant in this, but it felt at times that Kate McKinnon, Andy Samberg, who play the Rose's friends, they're like next door friends or like best mates, and the sort of they keep inviting each other to their houses for dinners and stuff. I felt like they were almost in a different movie. It felt like they were playing it too much for laughs. There was very little subtlety in their delivery, and it also felt like they were doing the SNL shtick throughout it. And I wish those roles had been given to people who probably are not too au fait with this sort of with comedy. I mean, as I say, Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman are good at what they do because they're really, really good at comedy, and they're also brilliant at drama. And I feel like McKinnon and Samberg have mostly worked in comedy, and they haven't got their drama chops yet. And other than that, I really liked it. I thought it was really good. It's not perfect, it looks very cheaply done, and I wasn't too convinced, as I say, with the fact that it was made in Devon. And I wasn't very convinced by it being in California. Other than that, I really liked it. I think this is really, really well done.
Fantastic. Yes, you're right. I do remember the original. I really enjoyed it actually at the time, and because it's sort of a crazy sort of black screwball comedy.
Yeah.
And then I rewatched it a couple of years ago, and I think it's aged quite badly. And as you say, it's vicious and just a bit silly, and it's really just they've gone. Those two were great in Romancing the Stone and Jewel of the Nile. Let's get them together again.
Yeah,
and let us
and now make them hate each other.
That's right. And it doesn't really fly these days. Whereas this, from the trailer at least, and from your review, looks great.
It feels very like it's very heightened. It doesn't feel like you're in the real world. It's something really heightened about it. There's something really sort of. I want to say like almost parallel universe-y about it, It doesn't feel like it belongs in reality. It belongs in our reality anyway. And I think that's what I liked about it. I felt like I wanted to know more about why it looked that way. Maybe I'm just seeing things in it that aren't really specifically sort of done deliberately, but I just thought it was really well done, and I was intrigued by the whole thing. There's a whole subplot about their children being turned into sort of sports machines by their father, and you might think it doesn't work. I thought it worked because it was such a ludicrous premise that I genuinely feel like it worked in a way, really. Yeah.
It sounds like they might have filmed it in one of those Omaze £1 million houses down on the south coast.
There is a very beautiful house in it. Absolutely gorgeous house. But yeah.
And of course, as you say, Benedict is great in comedy. He was in a film that really didn't get enough credit a few years ago, which I loved, The Electric Life of Louis Wayne, I think it was.
Oh, I love that movie.
So good.
Based on a true story.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, fabulous movie. Love that movie. Yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward to this one. Absolutely. Wonderful stuff. No, really looking forward to that. And thank you for that review, Linda. That was great.
Meet me in the foyer.
So why don't we get into the box office top 10, which I've just found there in my notes. I thought I hadn't done it for a second. Right, so box office top 10 this week. At 10, Eddington, Ari Aster's neo-western black comedy starring Joaquin Phoenix and Pedro Pascal. You've seen it, have you?
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay, it's a very
a weird one. I might review it next week. I might.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I heard the trailer this week and thought, blimey, this is absolutely bizarre, but it's Ari Aster, so that shouldn't be a surprise. At 9, Nobody 2, starring the brilliant Bob Odenkirk, has now reached the £1 million mark. But something doing slightly better, Gareth Edwards' Jurassic Park Rebirth has been reborn into the top 10, now hitting £34 million in the UK box office alone. So, don't know why that's happened, but it's back.
What number was it last week then?
It had dropped to 11, I think, last week. So, yeah. At 7, the sequel Naked Gun, starring Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson, has reached $6.5 million in its 4 weeks on release. So doing well. I must see that at some point. At 6, the opinion divider, shall we say, but not on this show. We were very much agreed that The Life of Chuck is absolutely terrible and sits near the middle of the chart at number 6. Yeah. And if you're not sure, listen to Linda's review from just last week. At 5, Marvel's 37th franchise installment, which I think rather explains the superhero fatigue, meaning films that are good aren't even making that much money these days. It's Fantastic Four: The First Steps, making $22 million in 5 weeks, and also highlighting how ridiculous it is that people are comparing films like Superman to Man of Steel and Iron Man online, when, you know, as I say, we're 37 films down the franchise line now. At 4, Sam Rockwell's gang, The Bad Guys, remain in the top 10 in their second instalment, making a cool $10 million at the box office, so no need to rob any more banks. At 3, Materialists, Celine Song's romantic comedy starring Dakota Johnson, is still in the top 3 of the charts and has made $2.5 million. At 2, I think this is the same as last week, Nishan Ganatra's Freakier Friday, starring Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan, has made $5.8 million in its 3 weeks and was reviewed by Linda on a previous show. I actually watched the 76 version this week, and it was I have to say it was a tough watch with some very poor performances going on in there. And I watched the original Freaky Friday of Lindsay Lohan's just last night, and I've got to admit it was pretty funny, and Jamie Lee Curtis was brilliant.
Yeah, fabulous movies, and those two make the movie really.
Oh, absolutely. There's a moment in it where Jamie Lee Curtis is talking about, I think it's her fiance coming over, and she just goes, "Ooh, crows!" Brilliant, she absolutely nailed it. And which means that number 1 still is Zach Cregger's Weapons, starring Josh Brolin, Julia Garner, and Alden Ehrenreich, I should say.
Mr. Graff, I can understand your passion, and I don't mind having these conversations with you, because God forbid if it was my child, I'd be demanding answers too. Those kids walked out of those homes. No one pulled them out. No one forced them. You see that I don't.
It's 3rd week at the top and has now reached £8.6 million.
Fabulous. That's what I like to see. It's and I'd say, like, loads of people keep saying, oh, you know, like it's kind of the same kind of film as Barbarian. Absolutely nowhere near. Like, I think with Weapons is in a class of its own, really. I think he's taken everything he learned making Barbarian and made it and brought it up a notch, and I just think it's a near perfect movie. Opinion, yeah.
And you don't have to tell me what your theory is if you have one, but have you got a theory about the odd floating gun moments that I've heard about?
Well, he sees the floating gun moment during the whilst he's having, whilst he's sleeping, when he's dreaming, having a nightmare. I did have a theory that was very quickly debunked because I interviewed the actress who plays the young kid's mum, Alex, I think. And the actor who played the husband of Benedict Wong's character in the movie, and I asked her Is this an allegory for school shootings? And she didn't seem to be in agreement with that, or she says that he's because of that gun thing. So she says it's actually the director has come out and said that it's probably more of an allegory for the traumatic childhood he had with his father being an alcoholic. So I don't know. Like I'd like to. Would have been nice to be able to interview him and work out exactly what that was about. But I don't know. Let's see.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Have you heard of any other sort of?
I haven't. I have a colleague at work who's seen it and absolutely loved it, and so I'm getting more and more tempted to watch it as the weeks go by, I have to say. I'll be having nightmares for weeks then. Right.
Meet me in the foyer.
So that was the top 10 this week, and I think we better put Linda back in the courtroom and get her to deliver another film review. In fact, we're not going back to the courtroom this time because it's visitors' time down at the jail, which has given us just enough time to get a review from Linda because she's been locked up in the cells again. She's fallen in with a bad crowd, including Austin Butler, Regina King, Zoe Kravitz, Liev Schreiber, Vincent D'Onofrio, and their ringleader, Darren Aronofky. Yes, sadly, Linda has been caught stealing.
Such a nice small town boy. You like baseball, call your mom every day.
Love you, Mom.
Come on, kids, get a room.
Sorry, Miss Kitty.
I've got to fly back to London. I need you to take care of my cat.
Who are you?
What did you get me into? Welcome to Narnia.
Should I stay or should I?
It's a huge amount of cash. And you're their fall guy.
It's not happening.
Austin Butler.
Mom, I need you to get out of the house. Go to Jackie's.
The game is starting.
Watch the game at her place, Mom. Caught stealing. In theaters August 29th.
Yeah, right. I am. How do I say this without seeming like absolutely mental? I love Darren Aronofsky. I think I love his movies that don't do well, and his movies that do well, and movies that are well received. I love everything about his filmmaking. I have to say, this is one of the most surprising Darren Aronofsky movies. I was not expecting it to look like this, to look so mainstream, to look so. I genuinely, because if you know anything about his method of making movies, it's all about the allegory, it's all about the symbolism, it's all about sort of introspection, and to the point where people really get tired of it and like, come on, just give us something. The last movie we saw him that did really well for him was The Whale, and that sort of did really well during award season. I wasn't completely convinced by The Whale, apart from that just absolutely fantastic central performance. But at the same time, I'll watch any Darren Aronofsky movie. I consider the movie Mother, which was panned by many people, but also really like there were rave reviews of it. I gave it 5 stars many years ago, 2017 I think it came out. I consider that one of his best movies ever. Having said that, I'm so surprised about how much I loved this movie, even though it felt as if I was watching something by the Safdie brothers rather than Darren Aronofsky, who is like a respected auteur of in film. He's not a newcomer to this. He's someone who's got his stamp. He's got his own sort of, the way his movies usually look, the way they flow is very different from everyone else. I think he's finally, and I think because he's not writing the script in this, Charlie Huston, who wrote the book, the original, on which this was based, has written the screenplay as well. So I think maybe because, but regardless of the screenplay, I think because of the way the movie looks, it's as close as possible to like a really old-fashioned crime thriller, crime spree movie, like a real sort of gruff and so well done, very sort of almost Guy Ritchie-esque. So you got Austin Butler plays this kind of like washed out um, uh, a barman who used to be quite a hit in baseball. He used to be like a great baseball player, but only when he was at school. And something tragic happened, and as a result, he is no longer the sort of the bright spark that everyone wished him to be. Zoe Kravitz plays his girlfriend, and Regina King, brilliant in everything. Love her. Brilliant the director as well, brilliant actress and director. She plays a cop. And then Matt Smith, in the most surprising of his roles, he plays this kind of like geezer, sort of the punky guy with a mohawk. Fabulous performance by him. You see him at the beginning of the movie, and then he goes off for most of the movie, and then he's introduced again towards the last chapter. I just thought this was so well done. It's so exciting. I just loved it. I absolutely loved it. The story is that he gets involved. He's asked by the character of Matt Smith, Russ, to look after his cat because his father's just had a stroke and he's got to go back to the UK to make sure that his dad is fine, and he leaves him with his cat. In the meantime, Austin Butler's character is called Hank. Hank finds himself involved with the Russian mafia, Hasidic gangs, all sorts of sort of really vicious people are after something because obviously Russ has left him in the shit, having left him with his cat and not told him what was going on. So they all think that Hank is involved somehow in the affairs of his neighbor. But he hasn't got a clue. He's someone who he might be washed out, and he might be an alcoholic trying to find answers to his problems at the bottom of a bottle of beer. But he's not a criminal in no way, shape, or reason. So he finds himself involved in this, and as a result, he's got to run from several sort of type fringes of villains. And the story it's completely shambolic. It's brilliantly done. It's never boring, and it's never flimsy. It's never baggy. It's so unlike anything Aronofsky has done before that I just could not believe I was watching a Darren Aronofsky movie. If you are not a fan of Darren Aronofsky and you thought him to be a bit too pretentious in the past and found yourself getting bored of the way he makes movies, go and watch this movie because it's nothing like he does. As a fan of his stuff, the brilliance is still there. There's that kind of hint of sort of introspection still there. But yeah, on the whole, I just thought it's so brilliantly done. I would not be surprised to see this pick up something at the end of the year for Austin Butler.
Right. Okay, that is interesting because you may not be surprised to know that I'm not a fan of Darren Aronofsky. I haven't.
Many people aren't.
I haven't liked any of his films at all. There's a couple I haven't seen, but all the ones I've seen, no, not for me.
The Whale is good. The Whale is quite good. It's not brilliant, but it's good.
I find it a bit too sort of mawkish and you know, kind of where it was going. And
yeah, it's a play, really, The Whale. It was very, very popular as a play, and it was sort of filmed. It felt like it was almost, even as a film, it was not really a film for me, like a film where you are just in one space. I mean, it's almost like a one-hander with him sort of attempting to find a solution to the situation he's found himself, but at the same time, it's introspective. It's beautifully acted. But I could understand why people might not like it. I also don't think it's very It could have been made by anyone. Do you know what I mean? It didn't require Aronofsky to make it because he's someone who really knows how to direct. So, but yeah, I guess,
yeah. Right, interesting. Yeah, that certainly piqued my interest in this one. I mean, the cast itself is fabulous, so that was enough to.
I think you're going to love it.
Yeah, it's another one to add to the list. It'll be draining the bank account dry once again. So fantastic! Thank you very much, Linda.
Meet me in the foyer.
Right, so this is now time for a classic movie. It feels like, yes. It's time to dust your projector off, dig out your VHS player, and polish up those DVDs and Blu-rays. As this week we travel not too far into the past, in fact, to what's probably going to be the most recent classic movie I can review, as we're heading back to 1995. It's another of the films that shaped my young movie watching life, blew away expectations, and came in a period of stunning filmmaking and watching that I feel isn't just a representation of sort of sentimentality for my youth, I hope, but proves the 90s were one of the greatest decades in movie making. As this week I'll be rounding up and interrogating The Usual Suspects from director Bryan Singer and writer Christopher McQuarrie.
Usually, when there is a crime, there is a motive.
I want to know why. 27 men died on that pier for what looks to be $91 million worth of dope that wasn't there.
Usually, when there is a lineup, there's only one real suspect.
This whole thing was a shakedown. And there's no way they'd line 5 felons in the same room.
But this is not the usual crime. This is not the usual motive.
He was in the harbor killing many men.
Kaiser Soze! He saw Kaiser Soze.
And these are not the usual suspects. Keaton.
I'm a businessman.
McManus.
There's nothing that can't be done.
Hockney.
What, you got a team of monkeys working around the clock on this?
Fenster.
Flip you for real.
Verbal Kint.
Roger, really. People say I talk too much.
He doesn't know what you want to know. I don't think he does. Not exactly. But there's a lot more to his story, believe me.
In a world where nothing is what it seems.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world.
I know he's here.
He didn't exist.
You've got to look beyond the usual suspects.
I'm smarter than you. And I'm going to find out what I want to know, whether you like it or not.
I work for Kaiser Soze. He feels you owe him. He does not expect all of you to live, but those of you who do will have $91 million.
It was Kaiser Soze, Agent Kuyan. I mean, the devil himself.
I'm telling you, it's Kaiser Soze!
There is no Kaiser Soze.
Keaton always said, I don't believe in God, but I'm afraid of him. Well, I believe in God. And the only thing that scares me is Kaiser Soze.
As I say, The Usual Suspects comes from 1995, directed by Bryan Singer and Christopher McQuarrie. It stars Stephen Baldwin, Gabriel Byrne, Benicio del Toro, Kevin Pollak, Chazz Palminteri, Pete Postlethwaite and Kevin Spacey. So an incredible cast. Really is an incredible ensemble cast. The plot follows the interrogation of Roger Verbal Kint, played by Kevin Spacey, a small-time con man who is one of only 2 survivors of a massacre and fire on a ship docked at the port of Los Angeles. Through flashback and narration, Kint tells an interrogator a convoluted story of events that led to him and his criminal companions being on the boat, and of a mysterious crime lord known as Kaiser Soze. The film was shot for $6 million and began as a title taken from a column in Spy magazine called The Usual Suspects, after one of Claude Rains' most memorable lines in the film classic, another classic, Casablanca, which Singer thought would make a good film title, and he wasn't wrong. So as I say, it's a tale of men being forced to work together due to being blackmailed and manipulated by a shadowy underworld kingpin whose identity is unknown to everyone. Their meeting is brought about by the police bringing them in for interrogation. They work together because they've previously performed jobs in which they inadvertently and unknowingly stole from this kingpin, and now he blackmails them into doing a job for him. As I said, we open on a boat. We see criminal Dean Keaton, played by Gabriel Byrne, slumped against some ropes, looking beaten and bruised, and a shadowy figure he calls the Kaiser approaches him and shoots him, and then sets fire to the boat. And during this scene, you cut around to different areas of the ship, piles of boxes, ropes, portholes, and you come to realize these are all places that people might or might not have been watching and listening what was going on. So you never know from the start who's where, who's who, and what exactly is going on. The film germinated from the title that Bryan Singer took from that line from Casablanca, and then McQuarrie liked the idea of a film with a police lineup scene, and they built the story out from there basically. And it's one of the most sort of iconic images of film now, but certainly of the 90s, that lineup shot that became such a famous poster that must have been on about as many student walls as the Blues Brothers poster was, and stuff like that. And then they came up with the tagline, "All of you can go to hell," which, so it's almost like a student film. They've built it up from these parts and then written a story to make it all tie together. The Kaiser Soze character is apparently based on a real man called John List, a New Jersey accountant who murdered his family in 1971 and then disappeared for 2 decades, assuming a new identity before he was identified. Bryan Singer has said the film is based, or inspired, I should say, by Double Indemnity meets Rashomon. And there's also a bit of Citizen Kane and a bit of the Anderson tapes. So some strong ingredients going into that one. McQuarrie, who's now gone on to sort of famously helm the Mission Impossible series. I think this might have been his debut, but I'm not entirely certain about that. He wrote 9 drafts of this screenplay, and you can really tell it's so tight, it's so sharp, it's so well written, it's beautifully plotted and structured. But despite that, they took it around all the studios, and everybody said no. So they eventually found backing by an investment company, but they wanted them to cast big stars like Christopher Walken, Tommy Lee Jones, Jeff Bridges, Charlie Sheen, James Spader, Al Pacino, or Johnny Cash in the lead detective role. That lead detective being Agent Dave Kujan, who would eventually be played by Chazz Palminteri. Singer said that he'd always wanted Palminteri, but he was originally unavailable, so they offered it to all those people, and they nearly went with Pacino, but then Pacino turned it down. And he says it's the one film he regrets most turning down in his career. The cast is made up of Kevin Spacey, as I say, as Verbal Kint, Gabriel Byrne as Dean Keaton, Chazz Palminteri as Dave Kujan, Stephen Baldwin as Michael McManus, Benicio del Toro as Fred Fenster, Kevin Pollak as Todd Hockney, Pete Postlethwaite as Kobayashi, Susie Amis as Eddie Finneran, Giancarlo Esposito as FBI agent Jack Bayer, Dan Hedaya as Sergeant Jeff Rabin, Castulo Guerra as Arturo Marquez, and Peter Green as Redfoot. So a brilliant cast. Peter Green, it was a friend who pointed it out recently to me, because it was one of those where every time I watched the film, I thought, I know this guy, but I never bothered to look it up. And it was only recently someone said, well, he's Zed, isn't he, from Pulp Fiction?
Yeah.
She is, but for some reason he's actually uncredited in Usual Suspects. I mean, the cast is brilliant. Everyone, you recognize everyone these days. It's such a fantastic cast. I don't think Baldwin has ever been better, and it's probably a slight insult, but I think it's probably peak Del Toro as well, even though he's had so many films. But for me, I mean, he'll always be Fenster. He's so good in this film. And Pollak as well. He's absolutely brilliant and has some great one-liners. And it comes in a run of just staggering films that Kevin Spacey appeared in the 90s. So we follow the criminals. It's kind of classic Hollywood detective noir, because the cops are slightly dumb and they're bullies, and you sort of sympathize with the criminals, which is against what one would think. They're quick-witted, they're smart-mouthed, and they don't take any shit from these dumb cops. It also, as I mentioned on last week's discussion of Life of Chuck, which I said committed a crime by having a narration, this has a voiceover as well. But it's kind of a narration, but then it turns out that it's present day interview, and we're actually in flashback for like a huge majority of the film. And it works really well, and it's required actually because the plot is quite complicated in parts, and because it's holding so much back to reveal at the end, you need that narration to lead you through, or should I say mislead you through. It's also interesting that if you repeat watch this film, which it does stand up to surprisingly, it doesn't cheat. There are certain things you can see where they could have cheated. They could have used someone else's voice or things, or a body double, but they don't. They actually use, let's just say they play fair. And as I say, it's definitely a neo-noir. You know, you've got your group of criminals brought together, your interrogation room scenes, your harsh downlighting, your voiceover. It's one of the great neo-noirs, but there were quite a few actually in the 90s. It ran into trouble because of that famous lineup scene, because all the actors just kept cracking up, and a lot of that ended up being kept in the film because it showed the group of criminals bonding together so well. So it's sort of heavily edited, and there's lots of jump cuts as you cut between actors cracking up, but it just really works, because they say that their intent was that the four of them were trying to make Gabriel Byrne laugh because he was always so serious on set. They also had problems with Del Toro playing Fenster because he decided to play this character speaking in an almost unintelligible manner, and you'd have the other actors suddenly saying lines like, "What did he say?" And kept those lines in because Singer decided to tell them, well, you know, if you can't understand him, maybe it doesn't matter if you can't understand him. So yeah, it's brilliant performances all around. What makes the film, as I said, is it's the script, it's the plotting, the structure. It builds intrigue, it enthralls you, it absorbs you, and then it pays off with a massive gut punch at the end that knocks the wind out of you and will make you want to just rewind that VHS or skip that DVD back to the start and watch it all over again. The editing's brilliant, and John Ottman, the editor, also provides a really great score which uses sort of rhythmic patterns and lines to heighten the tension throughout scenes. I seem to say this quite a lot, but again, it reminds me of JFK in that manner, the way it uses this rhythmic pattern to build the tension throughout it. It's probably just my obsession with JFK, but it could be in there. And there's even a little reference in the film to JFK when McManus is trying to do a hit, and he calls Oswald out for only killing 2 guys, and he's got to kill 7, which makes him the better hitman. As well as it being one of a few neo-noirs of the 90s, it's one of the revivals of the non-linear storytelling films of the 90s. Obviously the famous examples being Pulp Fiction and Forrest Gump, but this one does play similar tricks with you. It also uses a plot device all the way back from the golden age of murder mystery writing from Agatha Christie, but I won't tell you which Agatha Christie plot it is because that would give away what's going to happen towards the end of the film. Camera work's fantastic. Newton Thomas Siegel is the cinematographer, and he uses sort of constant motion throughout the scenes, and he just sort of creeps in towards people through shots, and the camera just slowly pans down things and finds characters. It's beautifully shot. So you always get this sense of motion, even though it's set in lots of tight locations, because there's a lot of exposition and dialogue in there. You know, there's a lot of planning heists and hits, and then of course discussing what's happened and who's done what to whom. So the movement in the camera really sort of keeps it alive, as does the heightened and intensifying, is that a word? Intensifying soundtrack. It also uses, and I'm going to use one of my old film school terms here, it uses the Kuleshov technique a lot. You get a lot of shots which cut to reaction shots, which could mean one thing or could mean something else entirely. It just depends on what you know or don't know when you watch the film. It's got a rating of 87% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is a bit low, to be honest. I think it should be much higher than that. But they say it's expertly shot and edited. I agree. It gives the audience a simple plot and then piles on layers of deceit, twists, and violence before pulling out the rug from underneath. Perfect. But critics don't always get it right, as we've said before, and even the best. Roger Ebert can get it wrong from time to time, and he gave Usual Suspects 1.5 out of 4, calling it confusing and uninteresting, to the degree that I don't understand and I don't care. He also included the film in his most hated films of the year. So, you can't be right all the time, I suppose. Rolling Stone said that Spacey gives a balls-out, brilliant performance. It's Oscar bait all the way, which I don't entirely agree with. I don't think it's an Oscar bait performance at all. I think it's just a very, very good performance, very measured. And others called it too clever for its own good, but the twist at the end is a corker, which is interesting. But I don't agree with that at all. I don't think it's too clever for its own good. I think it's a film that you'll enjoy as you watch, and then, as I say, it'll punch you in the gut at the end, and you'll go, "Oh my God, what did I just see?" and have to watch it all over again. So it won Kevin Spacey the best supporting actor, and Chris McQuarrie won the best original screenplay Oscar. So I mean, I think you can tell I love it. I certainly think it's a classic. As I say, it's right on the cusp of not qualifying for my classic category, but it's in there, and I recommend it highly. So if you're looking for an enthralling, brilliantly plotted thriller, then round up The Usual Suspects, and you'll have lined up an excellent evening of entertainment for yourself tonight, and indeed tomorrow night when you rewatch it with an all-new perspective.
I love that movie. I love that movie. I don't know whether it's rewatchable. I feel like once the twist is given away, there is less interest in staying on for the last chapter. But at the same time, I just think that there is one scene in it that will forever remember, the sort of the walk at the end where
absolutely
he goes from walking one way to another, and then suddenly your brain is like, what the hell did I just watch?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. The coffee cup drop. And,
and it's like, what?
Absolutely.
No, but I think we are all very wise to these things nowadays, and I don't know if that works. If something like that would work these days, and I think we're all just too clever. We've all seen too many movies with twists, and our brains have sort of developed, and we've learned to sort of expect twists from movies.
Yes.
But that was the very first time something like that was in the mainstream. And I just really hate it when critics try to sort of dump on popular movies. It's a genre movie. It's a brilliant genre movie. And and nothing annoys me more than when the great public, the great and washed, is enjoying something. Don't come and piss in on their parade, because it's not. Don't rain on their parade, or don't piss in their chips, or whatever, whichever one you want.
Don't piss on their rainy chips. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. I find it so frustrating when that happens, because like a good critic should be able to appreciate popular cinema as well as really sort of highbrow stuff. And if you have this inability to accept genre in your criticism, then you're not a film critic, in my opinion.
Very fair, very fair. And I won't disagree with you if you think that it doesn't work for you on repeat watching. I was very worried about that, because it is such a big reveal, but I've watched it twice in the last fortnight and enjoyed it immensely both times. But fabulous movie.
Meet me in the foyer.
Right, so let's round up this week's show with a little bit of news. Not too much going on at the moment, news-wise, for some reason. I guess everyone's keeping their powder dry for those festivals we mentioned at the top of the show. So what have we got? Knives Out. With each Knives Out mystery, you get a different tale to the previous one. And with this one, apparently, Rian Johnson has taken influence from G.K. Chesterton's Father Brown mysteries.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, something I've got a few of those books, and I have to admit, when I'm off work, I don't mind a bit of Mark Williams as Father Brown. It's going to be more inspired by the likes of Edgar Allan Poe as well, and Washington Irving. with Benoit Blanc solving a miraculous church-based murder in a tale that swaps the glamorous Greek island setting of Glass Onion for a more moody and gothic-toned tale, scheduled for release, or should I say, to open the BFI Film Festival on the 8th of October. Quite excited. I wonder if we'll get another Hugh Grant cameo. Probably not. But we announced way back when, in a previous iteration of the show, that Daniel Day-Lewis had been lured out of self-imposed retirement from acting to appear in his son Ronan's directorial debut, the drama Anemone, I think it's called. We've now finally got a trailer for it.
All these years, the isolation. This is it. This is my life. I've seen my share of lost souls, brother. I'm beyond your reach, Jen. No. The Invisible Man, Ray Stalker. How long was it, brother? When you went limping off into the woods? What, 20 years? Why did he leave us? The army teaches you to grin and bear it. The war with crime, and we were the phantom soldiers.
Ray never spoke to me about what happened over there.
I can't help you. Till he's told me what happened. Is that a question?
What do you want from me, brother? What do you want?
You're going to hell, brother. Family reunion.
And it's his first appearance in a film since 2017's Phantom Thread. Now, I think we're going to fall out again now.
Love Phantom Thread.
I knew it.
Absolutely love that movie. I mean, I am a huge fan of Paul Thomas Anderson. So if you're not a fan of PTA, then like you just, I love it because it's just so cruel and so funny, and it's so reliant on those two central performances. It's the same thing as the Roses where we were talking about.
I absolutely flip-flop on PTA. I think half of his films are the best things I've ever seen, and half of his films, no. I found, to be honest, I was hoping to be fed some mushrooms myself in that film just to make it stop.
Oh, I love that movie so much. I thought it was so funny as well. His delivery is just hilarious.
He is an absolute master. So that's going to hit cinemas on November 7th. We've also got a trailer for Candyman reboot and Marvel's director Nia DaCosta's new film, Hedda, based on the play Hedda Gabler, starring Tessa Thompson. That's due for release on the 22nd of October.
I've heard so much about you, Mrs. Tesman.
Hedda is fine. What have you learned?
That before you were domesticated, you were like fire.
Could you tell us the events of the evening up to the incident?
Hedda?
Yes?
This is what you wanted, isn't it? Money and the house. The party.
Charming. I love your flower thing.
Nothing can go wrong tonight, Hedda. Nothing.
Eileen. Why did you come here? To make sure I didn't love you.
Ain't no big thing
Head up, darling. What are you up to? You'll see. Well, you're not leaving, are you? Best to resist temptation. Oh, come on, Eileen. You're stronger than that.
What has got into you?
Sometimes I can't help myself.
Jesus, these people.
Why are you like this?
What are you so afraid of?
I hope you're happy.
Don't I look happy?
If you noticed an edit there, folks, we nearly got an exclusive out of Linda, but no. She reined herself in. So come back next week and we might find out what she was about to tell us. So let's get back to our weekly update on the Spider-Man Brand New Day casting, which continues with Severance star Trammell Tillman announced as being caught up in the web of Holland's fourth outing in the leotard. Tillman, who recently appeared as one of the highlights in the recent overblown and overlong Mission Impossible conclusion, The Final Reckoning, which I previously mentioned because, of course, that was written by Christopher McQuarrie, which I watched just this last weekend and retitled Montage Innumerable. Because I mean, that first hour, my God.
Oh, for God's sake, someone remake it and like takes that first hour out.
So
seriously, I just feel so sorry for everyone involved because it's bad editing. A good editor would have just looked at that and went, nah, not doing that.
I kind of felt that Cruise must have had a part in that, though, because he's a producer, you know, and he's like, hey, my highlights, guys. Yeah.
I have a feeling it's his fault.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Otherwise, news seems to be dominated by the pre-release hype escalation for Edgar Wright's latest feature, the remake of second-rate at best Arnie movie, The Running Man, now starring Glenn Powell, who's had a few months off from fronting every popcorn movie in cinema, or so it seemed last year. It's also going to star William H. Macy, Lee Pace, Emilia Jones, Michael Cera, Colman Domingo, and Josh Brolin. So hell of a cast.
I think it looks so good. I'm really looking forward to that.
I'm very much struggling to build up an enthusiasm for it, just because I'd never thought much of the first one, and I haven't seen anything yet.
I think this one looks better, in my opinion, but like, you know,
okay,
fans of the original might hate me for saying it.
They're weirdos. Don't worry about them. And it certainly feels like a film that, if it's a hit, will confirm Powell as sort of the leading man of the action genre of our times. And as with the previous announcement of a bit of Spider-Man casting, we've got another member of the Final Reckoning cast added, with Katie O'Brien set to star alongside Powell. Colman Domingo said the film will question the world we want to live in with its dystopian future setting. But I wonder, because we now live in a world that's been saturated with reality TV, whereas in the first film it was a sort of vision of a hellish future. I wonder, it's either going to work or it's going to feel hugely dated. I don't know.
I also think there's been other movies like in that kind of vein more recently, like Black Mirror and things like that. So it's not something new, but at the same time, I think I really want to see that movie made. I really like the cast as well, and I just feel like it's going to be a good movie. I saw the trailer. I don't usually go out looking for trailers, but I was at the screening somewhere and the trailer came on and I just thought it would look so good.
There's your recommendation, everybody. So that'll be out 14th of November. So that's it for this week's episode of Meet Me in the Foyer. It's been a pleasure seeing you again in the foyer, Linda. And if we get bailed or even beat rap, we'll see you again next week, lurking in the corner of your local multiplex. So meet me and Linda in that foyer, where we'll sort you out with some real good stuff. Nothing too dodgy, just a few reviews, the latest word on the street in movie news, maybe some Trevor Francis tracksuits from a mush in Shepherd's Bush. So until next time, be lucky. Remember, only fools and horses work. And if you subscribe to the Patreon, maybe this time next year we'll be millionaires, Rodney. So tune in next week. And until then, take care.
Adios.
Lovely stuff.
Meet me in the foyer.